Welcome to What's Brewing, Ben's Town Hall. How about a shout of applause for Deschutes Brewery for hosting us here this evening. They happen to be a part of a cluster as well, a little thing called microbrew, but we figured you knew that already as we tee up tonight's subject. The title, a little bit misleading, but we had to run with it once it was out in print, as you might know. But our entrepreneurial ecosystem then and now. And that might include, as many of you see, professionals and representatives who are not necessarily the entrepreneurs, but certainly step up to the plate to see the accountability component in that and how it matters to our community. So as we get started tonight, a couple of things to think about. Joining us is our AKA new economy, as well as some of our traditional commerce. And what is the common DNA for the best quality of life that we might have together here? And so tonight is truly about a conversation, and that's why each one of you, short of you two sharing a mic here, have your own mics. And joining me tonight as co-moderator is stellar local businessman and former city councilor Scott Ramsey. They'll be coming around with the mic as well. We really believe that tonight's crowd is filled with the right people in the room who have been a part of building and supporting this new economy, as well as the traditional quality of life. We want you to speak up. We really want you to get out there and speak up, and Scott and I will be coming around for that. But also joining us here this evening from the AKA traditional commerce per se, but a lot of the folks who were a part of shaping why we have this quality of life. Please also help me welcome here, facing at the front for response panelists, Jeff Robberson from Robberson Ford. Exactly, I know, right? Pamela Andrews, the founder and publisher of Cascade Publications. Josh Newton, of course, as many of you know, from Karnopp, Peterson. So thank you to the three of them. And I want to go ahead and get us started also with some big thank yous. The reason that we can pull together a town hall with a free beer and an awesome place like this is because of our title sponsors, Miller Lumber and Sun West Builders. So thank you. All right. Exactly. Cheers to them. Our media sponsors tonight, and I see Jerry Upham in the house, KTVZ News Channel 21. Indeed, there you are. And Combined Communications. And as I said, each one of these panelists here, this is a large group to get to speak with, who have taken their own time tonight to be with us and have this community conversation. We're going to get to know each one individually as we kick it off, but how about a huge round of applause for them coming and sharing their time and energy with us tonight. So just a little background, a couple of months ago in Leadership Bend, any Leadership Bend alumni in the room? By show of hands, real quick. A few of you, all right. How about Leadership Bend alumni class folks from class of 2015 now? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Awesome. Well, we had last year the tech cluster come and visit us along with the educational components of how they work together. And this year we took it up a notch, and the tech cluster, the biosciences, the UAS, UAV drones, and outdoor industry came to visit us, because really it is about our economy, and then how do they play into our educational system, our workforce, our housing, or just the whole 9 yards. Then we decided it was time to have a community conversation, and that's where I'd like to give a shout out. I see that Robin Sharp is in the room from EDCO at the back. Thank you, Robin. As we know, EDCO has worked hard to identify the clusters, offer assistance, and of course the stable of experts, where there's a great deal of mentorship where they've come into their own realm. I also want to point out that looking forward, Jim Shell and many others in the room here, they did a good job of, and are continuing to create awareness about the new and the traditional economy. And of course, I'd like to share a little quote, Jim, if I may. Set the stage here. The traded sector is a new economy that's going on, and here's what we've learned. Traditional businesses are those who got Bend to where it is today. New economy are those who will help our community to grow and create high-paying jobs. New economy businesses and young folks who work 60 hours a week have families. Seems that they don't have time right now for Rotary, Chamber, EDCO, and all kinds of things. Many are experts and come from someplace else. What about this? How do we get them involved? And that question, when you invited me to a Rotary meeting to help educate our community on it, is why we're here tonight. We decided our chamber and our members and our community needed to continue that conversation as well. So thank you for that. How do we get each other involved? And to that, next steps. Why here with the Bend Chamber? We want to understand how to assist these groups. We want to understand how we can create our strongest possible economy and quality of life, as I mentioned. Plus, identify leadership attributes and possibilities for reverse mentorship. Jeff, you think you'd let one of these folks mentor you as well? All right, just checking. Already have. So, and the long and short of it, how do we collaborate and again make the best possible community that we live in? So with that, without further ado, I'd like to hand the microphone over to each one of these groups and let them give their quick elevator pitch, who they are and who's joining us in the room. So thank you, and Isaac, we'll start with you.
Sure. It's great to be here. Isaac Fulton, co-founder of Choose Growth. We're the future of e-learning. When you think of e-learning, you often think of something boring. We exist to kill boring, and we're the new level of e-learning, and we're doing it for experts and organizations. We moved here from the Pearl District in, say it was April of last year. We had about 10 employees. Most of the 38 employees we have now are locals. And so that's great. And it's been absolutely amazing to be here. We love living here with our families, and the employees and the talent is unsurpassed. I mean, it is amazing the energy of the people here. Everybody's really purposeful here, I noticed. So we love that.
Thank you. And thank you for keeping it under that time frame. It was awesome. Thank you.
What's the time frame?
90 seconds.
My name is Mark Hinkle. I'm one of the co-founders of Munzama. And Munzama is a next-generation business intelligence platform for professionals. So we go out to about 70,000 websites out there in the world, corporate press releases, industry publications, trade publications. And for larger organizations, and now smaller organizations as well, we deliver a customized dashboard, mobile app, and daily email summary of what's happening with their clients, their prospects, any legislation, issues, topics, competitors, really anything that they care about. Instead of going out into the big bad world of the World Wide Web, we sort of curtail that selection of sources. We started here about 5 years ago in Bend, Oregon, with just 2 of us, and now we're up to about 35 people. So it's been a great ride. We last year we opened up an office in Australia, and we also opened up an office in London. So things are going really well.
Thank you. Yeah.
My name is Alicia Putnam. I am CEO and co-founder of PrestoBox, the world's first automated branding agency. I used to run a traditional branding agency and loved it, but when a small business would show up at my doorstep and say, I'm ready to get branded, I'd say, great, that'll cost you $40,000. So what we've done is we've married technology with the best practices of design and branding and brought that price point and timeline down radically. It's $98 for a logo, business card, and a website, and it happens automatically. And we're currently negotiating partnerships with Staples and with Weebly.
Be sure to hold that microphone close. Great job.
Is this close?
Yes.
All right. All right. So my name is Kraybill, and I was the Chief Technology Officer at an internet marketing firm here in Bend for 7 years, a company called G5. We have about 180 employees, the majority of whom live and work here in Bend. Last summer, I sort of left my position in that job to co-found another company called Amplion. We were fortunate enough to win the Bend Venture Conference last fall, and we are now a thriving 5-person company.
I'm Mark Morrison, the Executive Director of SOAR Oregon, which has as its primary mission establishing unmanned aerial vehicles and systems as a significant industry cluster in Oregon. So that's to the tune of more than 1,500 new high-paying jobs created in the first 3 years after our major accomplishment, yet to happen, and something like $400 million worth of economic impact. But I'm going to start with asking you all 2 questions. And the first is, what do these companies have in common? Rolls-Royce, Yamaha, Facebook, Google, FedEx, John Deere, Chevron. These are all companies that are investing hundreds of millions of dollars in autonomous systems, and UAV is a part of that. The second question, before I go on, I should mention that OSU is also a part of autonomous systems, having just formed an autonomous systems research group, and is actually the home to the highest concentration of roboticists per square foot in the United States, outpointing even MIT and Carnegie Mellon.
I think you might need to hold that a little closer for the back of the room.
A little sort of unknown factoid there. The second question I'm going to ask you is, UAV, what's it more akin to? Aerospace or information technology and high tech? And the answer is actually high tech. And any industry that's moving into a next generation that is data intensive is going to use UAV. And that includes such things as forestry and agriculture, a couple of the things that are near and dear to the hearts of Central Oregon. And I'm just going to use that to say we have a pioneer in precision agriculture right here in Bend in Central Oregon, a national leader.
Thanks, Mark. My old pal. Our company is called Paradigm. We were founded 3 years ago by a gentleman some of you may know named Vic Cordell. And my name is David Blair, by the way. Did I say that? And Vic had a very unlikely vision, which was that if we brought the top national experts in UAV drone operations to a company, and we used that expertise to build relationships with companies that wanted to test their technologies and engage in flight programs, we could then use that skill as a stalking horse, if you will, to get into the data management and data processing functions that we believe had the most promising business potential for us. And fortunately, it has worked weirdly well. We are now up to 25 people. The way this all kind of came about, what's public information is that Boeing walked in the door right away. That was lucky. That worked, as they say. We set up an agriculture research project for them in Hermiston. We established Oregon State's status as what's called a public sponsor, meaning the ability to run flight programs. So we've been in the forefront of this of that industry, and so now we are looking at branching out into other sectors. We see mining as a great potential. We see oil and gas fields as potential utility corridors. And we think the industry is going to go in a direction of more rural, remote, industrial applications, and that's where we're concentrating our energy. So,
thank you, David.
I'm sorry, this is Pam Stevenson.
Pam Stevenson. And I would just like to say I feel really honored to be up here with all these entrepreneurs, and happy to say that I know each one of them personally, and it's a great group of people up here. I moved to Bend 15 years ago from the rainy side because I wanted to leave my job at Nike and live where the sun shines. And I started a business consulting business here, working specifically with outdoor companies, my passion. And my very first client was Roughwear. I ended up becoming the general manager of Roughwear. And then I moved on to my second client, which was Kealoha Paddles. And we hit it off so well that I became a partner in that business. I'm a part owner of Kealoha Paddles. Been involved in that business for 13 or so years. Like many of you, I wear many hats here in Bend. So I've been working as a business consultant all along. I've been an adjunct professor at OSU Cascade, teaching the entrepreneurship program there since its inception for like the first 7 years or so. And then Concordia University's MBA program as well, teaching the entrepreneurship class there. And currently, I'm working as a business advisor for a program called Grow Oregon that works with growth stage companies, helping them reach the next level through the SBDC. And I'm up here tonight wearing the hat of representing the Oregon Outdoor Alliance, which was an organization that a steering committee of about 5 or 6 of us formed about half a year ago now. Our fearless leader is Van Schossler. I don't even know how to pronounce that Van, but he's here. So he should be up here. Gary Braceland, who's next to me, is also one of the organizing steering committee members, as well as Rob Little, who's the founder of Cairn, and Bob Woodward, we all know as Woody, who is an icon in the outdoor industry, and then Renee Patrick, who works with Cascade Publications. So that was it, right? I didn't miss anybody, yeah. So we are the steering committee that formed the Oregon Outdoor Alliance about 6 months ago, and what we've done so far is to kind of formalize our cluster and focused around doing our bi-monthly, we're calling them Beer 30s. And our next one is going to be March 11th at the 2nd Street Theater. And we are getting now approximately 85 to 90 people showing up at these. And they're the Oregon Outdoor Alliance's version of a pub talk. We have a keynote speaker from the industry. We often have what we call spotlight speakers that are from related companies that or industries that want to share something with our audience, and it's about networking and bringing the people in the outdoor industry here in Bend and beyond together to promote our industry and to share our knowledge.
Gary, pass that mic when you're done with it over to your left.
Okay, my name's Gary Braceland, and I've been in the outdoor industry basically my whole adult life since college. As Pam mentioned, I'm part of OOA as well. I've been in Bend 22, 23 years, and the whole time I've worked in the outdoor industry, and it's kind of weird that you'd have to be creative to work in the outdoor industry in Bend, but you do sometimes. So my day job is that I'm a partner and sales director for a snow apparel company and a sales strategist consultant. But I'm here tonight to represent BOW, Bend Outdoor Works, and Bend Outdoor Works is an outdoor product company accelerator, focuses on emerging companies that are between 50,000 that it's launched to 1.5 million. And it's a group of us here in town who got together and mentored these companies to help create more sustainable, successful outdoor companies in Bend.
Yeah, well put. Thank you.
And I'm Kate Ryan, so I have a few different roles. First, please don't hit me on my right side or the left wrist. I'm a very talented collegiate athlete who can't seem to walk properly. So I'm here representing part of the Bioscience Consortium. We have New Bend Bioscience Consortium, which Les and I are both representing here. We have a steering committee composed of a number of different people, from OSU Cascades to independent entrepreneurs who are Chris Schelling to Corey Schmid, who is part of Cyber Peaks Ventures and also has a business background in bioscience. And I'll let Les introduce himself. And I'm missing Jeff Gauchi is OSU Cascades in the biosciences there, as well as Mike Maloney, who is a regulatory consultant, more toward FDA type of programs. Myself, I actually connect to the outdoor industry in that I am a past entrepreneur and a startup across both outdoor and tech with some startup websites in mountain biking and climbing. But my real background is engineering and science and other passions of mine, and so I do my own consulting, which is mainly business development in the life sciences area and a lot of strategic partnering. But with that, let Les, who is also on the steering committee, introduce perhaps a little more on the Bioscience Association and our mission and himself.
Thank you.
I'm Les Mace, moved to Bend about 12 years ago with the idea of retiring. It didn't work out so well. I got bored real quickly, got involved with EDCO. I've been a volunteer with EDCO for quite some time. Through that, sort of evolved into, my background is in biosciences. Kate and I are very complementary in that she's more of the pharma biotech side, I'm more of the medical device side. My background was about 40 years in medical device product development.
almost all of it, which was done in Seattle. The Bioscience Consortium, we just see a great opportunity here. As you, most of you know, there's already a fair amount of bioscience companies already here, starting with Ben Research, now Capsugel, and there's been some spin-offs from that. But with this entrepreneurial environment, there's a great opportunity for a whole wide range of medical product development. We're moving into an age of digital health, which involves software and high-tech electronics. I think Ben is ideally suited for some startup companies involved in that area. As Kate said, there's a steering committee of 6 of us that we formed. We now have a website, benbio.org, and we're just sort of getting rolling. This was an offshoot of Jim Schell's idea of looking forward and forming the clusters. The key is that you have to have the entrepreneurial interest to really start a cluster, and I think we do have that here. And hopefully with a number of people like myself and others who have bioscience backgrounds, medical device backgrounds, to help these companies emerge and grow, I think we have a bright future.
Well done. Great introductions by each one of you, getting to know a little bit about the individual at the table and your organization, even a little bit about the clusters. We've set aside some time right now to learn about the individual clusters and you know why they're even here per se. And I know you two got to touch on it just a little bit, and you gave some background. But I think the tech one has a little bit more that you could share. I want to remind everybody, or at least let you know, that at 6 p.m. we will be Skyping in Rane Johnson. She's in New York this evening, actually at the United Nations Conference for Women. And, and has elected to join us. She is the chairperson for the Tech Alliance here in Central Oregon, and also does research and development with Microsoft, and elects to live here. She's a champion for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, particularly for our women and young adults, and as well part of TEDx and TEDxSalon. I know Jim and the group know her well. So we'll be also pulling her in so we can hear her thoughts, and want to get an opportunity to learn about our response panelists who are here. So just coming back before we kick out to here, if somebody from the tech industry would like to step up and tell us, you know, how is it and why have you elected to put a cluster together? What is your cluster and what's it do to benefit you, would you say? Yeah? Here, you can shove your own. Yeah. Good job.
Well, I mean, no branch can bear fruit by itself. It's one of my favorite words of wisdom, which is you have to have other entrepreneurs you're working with. You have to be part of a community that you can actually contribute to. Because when you contribute, you learn, and that has been instrumental. When we were thinking about coming to Bend, you know, Portland's bigger. We're a small company. Portland's bigger. You know, where can we make a difference? Where can we be part of the community? Where can we work with people that really want to do something big and be part of a startup that's going places? And so that's been big for us. It's been incredible just to meet people. Alicia's actually, we've done some business together already, so that's been amazing, and we've been learning from each other. So it just so happens I didn't know we were going to be sitting at the same table tonight, but I think that's just indicative of the incredible culture we have in Bend of, you know, let's be proactive, let's help each other, let's find out how we can do it.
So good background on. Any quick other comments, Chris, maybe?
So somebody from Edco's here, right? And do a lot of folks here remember a gentleman by the name of Jim Coonan?
Oh yeah.
Show hands. So you know, Jim came out with a white paper that he did a long time ago. I'm really interested in these concepts of startup communities and entrepreneurial communities, and what are sort of the ingredients that form an entrepreneurial community. And the one that I've always sort of latched onto is this word that the Kaufman Foundation uses called density. You know, I moved up here from San Francisco in 2003. There were a lot of sort of ex-tech people that came out of either San Francisco or Seattle or Southern California, and we were all pretty young and didn't want to just sort of, you know, drive around in our golf cart and play golf all day. We wanted to kind of feel like we were still in the game a little bit, right? And so we all starting businesses here, and it was really through just that density that a bunch of us got together and started to form companies that started going places. And I mean, Mark, you probably came here right around the same time, and for many of the same reasons that are the quality of life that the folks in this room have really been instrumental in contributing to. And I think that's where these worlds meet, right? Is you have these wonderful people that want to move here, that are young and eager and want to start businesses, and I think density and access to capital are two of the sort of the major ingredients that you really need to have in order to make these communities and these hubs work. And tech is fortunate enough that there was the Ben Venture Conference. More recently there's been 7 Peaks and what Dino's doing with that fund, Cascade Angels. There's some other new lending opportunities that are very creative for folks, and I think all of these things really help to contribute to the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we've been able to accomplish here in Bend over the last decade.
Well put, Chris. David and Mark, UAV, UAS, drones, it's actually been around quite a long time. It's just stepped up to the plate differently the last several years. How would you like to take the realm on that? Because are you truly a cluster? I mean, how's that really look?
I think we can truly be a cluster, and I'm going to just extend, the early remarks here and say, what will it take for a cluster to survive and succeed and maybe grow? And I think Oregon, particularly Central Oregon, has been dealt a really, really strong hand. It wasn't too long ago that we had approximately 1,000 jobs added to the Central Oregon economy through general aviation. A lot of those jobs left when Cessna moved south of the border and back to the Midwest, but a lot of folks stayed in Bend, and there's a lot of resident expertise here. And then when you add in the fact that UAV is really a data-intensive industry, we've got a lot of programming expertise here. We now have 2 or 3 of the nation's leading app developers in some very specific UAV applications here in Central Oregon. We've also got strong existing supply chain in composites, precision machining. We've also got some strong resident small engine expertise now, courtesy of OSU and Chris Hagen. And I think when you put together this critical mass of assets, we've really got the makings of the glue that can hold and anchor and nucleate, a thriving cluster. Then when you throw on top of it the end users and the service providers, companies like Paradigm, that tap into other great Central Oregon industries, forestry management, firefighting, and precision agriculture. I think you have the makings of something that's really going to last in Central Oregon, and something that's got all the feeder technologies that's going to enable it to grow.
One of the things that Kaufman study mentioned was like a strong regulatory environment, or like a healthy regulatory environment, and I think it was Threadco and some of the other folks that really helped to. Wasn't it true that you could only fly these drones at one point over government installations, and there's a lot of work done to bring that sort of free airspace to this region as well?
Well, yeah, the test range thing is an interesting history, and I guess it informs us a little bit that, we had the crash and the recession hit, we lost Cessna, we lost Epic, and the movement began here in town to get a test range, and we were looking at the Juniper MOA between here and Burns and Winnemucca. Well, at that point, literally after we were working on that for a year, Congress came in and authorized a set of national test ranges. And by the way, 25 states invested millions in the competition for a test range, which is interesting only because when 25 states are throwing millions of dollars at an economic sector, the ability to differentiate is less. Okay, I'm gonna just sort of there's aspirations nationwide to grab technology, to grab UAVs, to grab sectors, and so these aren't creative ideas in Central Oregon. We at our company we have donated a lot of resources in terms of standing up Oregon State University, helping advise the test ranges, advising the colleges on academic programs. So we've given an awful lot. However, we are very busy building a business, and so the notion that we're putting a lot into growing a community of businesses is not really what we're doing. We're trying to, the best thing we can do for the community is succeed as a business and provide high-paying jobs, which we are doing. The other observation I would make is that Oregon is very well positioned for this economy, but it all depends on the rules that the FAA comes out with. If the FAA comes out with a set of rules, for example, in rural areas, like over farm fields, over mines, in rural country, in which one person can run 5 to 10 vehicles beyond line of sight, Oregon's economy will explode in this industry. On the other hand, if the FAA says it's going to take 2 people to operate 1 vehicle within line of sight, well then we're going to bump along like we are bumping along right now. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you elaborate on maybe your efforts to make sure those are possibilities in either nationally or in Oregon?
This is a classic. This is a lobbying problem, and it's in politics. If you keep it a secret, you kind of deserve what you get, right? And we think that agriculture would be a great area for FAA to take on fairly aggressively. It's remote. No one says, oh, there's a privacy issue with, what's going on in the cornfield. So we think that, we hope that the FAA will move aggressively in that area. But the jury's out, and I don't see any particular indication that that's coming anytime soon. Even though FAA has taken steps recently to liberalize the airspace.
So not to break up the conversation, but we do need to bring Rane in right now. Rane Johnson, as I had mentioned, is coming in from New York right now on Skype, and we can be able to tell her hello and get a quick catch up from her as well. Looks like she's doing something fun. Oh, sorry, David. She was talking to us beforehand, wasn't she? I thought so. So she'll be, as you might imagine, a representative from the technology cluster here. Yeah, exactly. So, well, while we're waiting to get into her, it looked like she was on deck and writing you, Rachel. The outdoor industry, you got to explain a little bit of what a cluster does, through your initial introduction, as did bioscience. But I don't want to leave anything off the table while we're at least getting through our initial setup for the conversation tonight. And God bless your heart, you always get a good conversation going right away. So keep that up.
Is that Rane? Was that Rane?
That was me.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll take a couple minutes while we're waiting for Rane, and just say that with all due respect to our friends in the tech cluster and the drone cluster and the bioscience cluster, I think we feel like the outdoor industry cluster is the iconic cluster for Bend, Oregon. Either that or the beer cluster. And so that's why we feel like our opportunity is really ripe, because we have so many natural resources here. I mean, the outdoor industry is, in my mind, and Gary's mind, I'm sure, is kind of like what we're all here for in Bend. We're all here to ski and bike and paddle and take advantage of what our natural resources have to offer us here. So it's a natural place to start an outdoor company, to run an outdoor company, to build an outdoor company. And I remember when I first moved here to Bend, I wanted to connect, and so I actually gave Bob Woodward a call and went and had a coffee with him to talk about what kind of opportunities there were in the outdoor industry here in Bend, because I left the job at Nike to come here. And surprisingly, there really weren't that many companies and that many opportunities. I think Gary would echo that. And we were like, we've talked about it since. We both worked at Keoloa Paddles together for a while, and we talked about it. And we're like, why aren't there more outdoor companies and more opportunities here? Well, now that is starting to happen. We're really starting to be on the map for that. And one reason is now that we're sort of coalescing the resources that outdoor company needs, and that's something that Bend Outdoor Works is contributing to. And there are more and more outdoor companies that are starting here. And in my work with companies across all sorts of industries, one common problem that I hear is one of the biggest challenges is finding the resources, the human resources in tech, like developers, software developers and whatnot. And so it's difficult for these companies to attract those kind of workers and therefore companies here because of that challenge and that limitation. Well, we're on the other side of the coin. We both have friends in the outdoor industry that are constantly contacting us saying, hey, do you know of a job that I can get, because I want to move to Bend, Oregon. And so we feel like we have a lot to offer, and that's why it's pretty exciting.
I think that's very well said, Pam. I think it's important to realize the difference between the outdoor industry and tourism, and the reason the tech guys and bioscience and everybody moves here is for the great outdoors, but that there isn't a lot of traded sector consumer goods outdoor companies here in this outdoor mecca. So I've always said, why Ogden? Why, wherever? Why not Bend? So it does seem like a natural fit for outdoor companies. And really, as Pam said, there's not that much opportunity here in the outdoor industry. I mean, you've got Hydro Flask, Roughwear, Keoloa, Metolius, and then you've got a lot of little companies. And that's where Bow's trying to help step in and make some of those little companies move up and start being rent-paying, employee, supporting companies. And the whole reason I got thrust into this position was, EDCO had the outdoor roundtable, and they were focusing on outdoor as one of the clusters that they wanted to try to promote. And we realized early on that you couldn't just show up at trade shows and shake people's hands. They moved to Bend. It's a great place to live. There's a lot of great places to live, so we had to create some synergy and energy going on in the outdoor industry here to brag about. So.
Hi, Rane. Can we welcome Rane to the group? Can we make that a little larger?
Yes. Can you see me?
Oh, there we go. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Rane Johnson, go ahead and introduce yourself to us.
Hi, I'm Rane Johnson-Stepton, and I'm the president of the Tech Alliance of Oregon, and I sit on the board for the Central Oregon STEM Hub. And I'm a researcher for Microsoft Research, and I live in Bend, right across the street from COCC, and try to be an advocate for women and diverse populations in technology in Central Oregon, and excited to be there. And I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but I'm in New York City right now because we're about to launch a big event for International Women's Day and how we get more young men across the world in STEM education, and especially computer science and technology.
We were just having the conversation regarding different clusters and why they form together, what value that gives them, and what strength. And I know one of the things that you've brought up has been reskilling our own workforce here so that they have a good quality of life. And ironically, Gary and Pam from the outdoor believe that the original quality of life was with the outdoor group. And so I know you have some real thoughts on reskilling. If you wouldn't mind giving us just a second, we just wanted to make sure to welcome you in, and we need to finish up kind of our cluster talk, so we'll come back around to you. But if Rachel was going to show you around the room, so if everybody will give her a big wave so she can see you. Hey, Rane! So, next up we've got Kate and Les from Bioscience, kind of giving us, how's this cluster work for you? What's the advantage to our region and to your group and our workforce? And
okay, thank you. So, well, I'd like to say the iconic cluster is actually bioscience, because behind the outdoor industry, tech, beer, and somewhat of SOAR lies engineering and science behind all of that. But with that, actually, it's a great segue into we all actually work together. We try, and though we're segmented in these clusters or segments or verticals, as I'd like to call them, that we are actually all working together to try, that we go into our own expertise, but to try and determine how we have overlaps, how we can learn from each other, as well as how we can learn from the traditional economies as well. And so we have, thanks to the Looking Forward group, is really kind of bringing us all along. We all know each other fairly well because we do interact in these ways, and we've learned from each other. But specific to bioscience, so Les and I are actually reviving something that was around some time ago called COBIC, and I'll let Les speak to that because I was not around at that point. I was not in Bend. So, but what we saw is, and I'm sure what COBIC saw before, was that we have there are many people in Bend or come to Bend for maybe second homes, etc., who are involved in different parts of the life sciences world. From entrepreneurs who come here to businesses established here, like the Bed Researches or the here, to the mix of an entrepreneurial company and tech company such as Amplion, to businesses that we would like to help move to this to our economy here. So that goes along with EDCO's Grow, Start, Move. But our real mission is to, right now, we're in our infancy, is to connect and to cultivate the bioscience world. Bioscience is really just an all-encompassing word to mean anything to do with the life sciences, though we would say we're really more focused, I mean, we have more representation based in tech, in pharma, and medical device at the moment, but it's really an all-inclusive. And I'll let Les kind of speak a little more to COBIC and a few other items.
COBIC was founded...
is COBIC an acronym?
Central Oregon Bioscience something.
Right.
Welcome to Thank you. She wasn't even here. It really was formed to basically begin some bioscience training and workforce training in the area. And I think it just basically lacked critical mass. There's some great leadership, Tony Nip, some people from now called Medline up in Redmond, but it just sort of went by its wayside. Kate and I had the opportunity to kind of revitalize that. We used the list of names that we were aware of from that end. We've added, I think we have somewhere around, how many, Kate? 150 people names on our distribution list for. So it's really an active, a very active area in Bend. Yes, we all came here, many of us came here because of recreation and lifestyle. We're sandwiched between two very strong bioscience communities, Seattle, Puget Sound area, and of course Silicon Valley, both very strong. Oregon in its own right has some very strong bioscience communities too. So we can draw, we think, from the western region of the United States, companies that would really rather relocate to a, shall we say, a little less expensive environment, a little less traffic, and that's part of our mission to develop a community here where they can come in and really feel like they're at home, that there's people here that are willing to help, that are experts in various fields, and we can really actually expand, which has already started very strongly by Bend Research, Amplion, of course, Year Pharma, and several others. There's actually several virtual biotech communities operating here now in Bend that a year ago I wasn't even aware of. And again, they were here because of lifestyle reasons. So it's a great industry. It's withstood the test of time. It's probably technology encompasses, as Kate said, all of the life and physical sciences. And that's not me. Anyway, so Kate, anything else that I miss?
not sure quite what's going on. Do you know? By chance, is there a way to...
It's on her end, so the car drops.
Gotcha. Sorry about that, Les, but I think you're giving a great synopsis of how we came to be, why we're here, what our strengths are for sure. And with that, as soon as we get that, Rane, how are you doing over there with us? Good.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I think it's time to go to our response panelists. You've been listening to the various clusters, and I certainly hope in the room you're ready for some conversations and some questions. But Jeff, Pamela, and Josh, given the nature of the topic tonight and the wonderful folks in the room, what have been some of your thoughts going through your mind, just with this group here already and for the conversation at the table for our community? And the mic is on, and just hold it close.
It's kind of funny because Josh and Jeff and I were all wondering, why are we here?
You're all what?
Why are we sitting here? We were laughing about that. So I think that a conversation that I've had with many people, but Jamie and Jim Shell, about how your new economy, so to speak, connects with traditional businesses. And here you have lawyers, media, and automobiles. I mean, you know, what could be older than that? Well, maybe a couple things, but we're, you know, we've been here for a long, long time, and we're still here, and yet we all connect with you. I mean, obviously you need an attorney, obviously you need a car, and you know, I'll just give you a little story about Cascade Business News, because I think that we're the purveyors of connecting you as non-traditional businesses with the traditional community, because there isn't a company sitting up here that we haven't done a feature story on at one time or another. And Isaac, in fact, when they decided to move here, we were one of the first companies. We even had lunch by chance together in our office, and you know, we wound up doing a story. I thought it was a great story, but a story on you. And who would know? Who would know? Who would know out there in Redmond and Madras and Sisters, and people who are selling real estate and selling insurance and doing the traditional things? How would they know that these new companies are coming there if they're not reading the business newspaper? And so I think that that's our connection, and I can't imagine anybody would disagree with that. So, and I'm sure that Jeff has a great connection too. I'll pass it on.
Well, I moved here on December 27th, 1957. And so I was a ripe age of 4 years old, and grew up here in Bend and loved the outdoors and loved what we did, and skied 7 days a week in high school, and it was just fantastic, and couldn't wait to leave Bend because of my last name. And so I moved away and moved back about in '85. And having seen Bend go through so many cycles, my dad used to always say half of the income in Bend is made from people that move here, go broke, leave their money here, and move away. and I really think that's true, and we most recently saw it just not too long ago, and it's really sad. And so for my passion for this community, what I like to see is sustainability and livability. And so you ask these questions. Back in '57, there was 4 mills in town. Okay, and that's all gone and gone away. And to see you guys all here, and you know, adding up employees as we were going through the list, to me is just exciting. That will, you know, as we move out of our traditional economy. I mean, you can't do everything on tourism, minimum wage jobs. But so it's really exciting, and I've spent some time on all your websites today, so it's kind of fun. So I'm jazzed.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm Josh Newton, and I've resisted in conversations with Jim Shell as actually being labeled a traditional economy. 43 years old, it doesn't feel like the right suit for me. On the other hand, I guess I work for a very traditional business in town, a law firm that's been here for over 70 years. But I guess one of the things I think about, and I talked to Jamie about, is, and maybe my phrase, the common DNA. So you have new economy representatives and clusters up here. Actually, I'm going to take a small deviation. It's funny how human beings, we talk sort of metaphors, and a thing like a cluster.
I'll have you speak up a little bit, Josh. I think the back.
A thing like a cluster. But I was going to encourage David that in the future, when you're talking about any sort of aerospace, you not use the word crash. Just seem like might not be the right image to evoke. Anyway, I do think, you know, traditional economy is only viewed as traditional because it's been here and it's been successful. And so at some point, the businesses that you represent and the clusters and I guess that you represent, if everything goes well, you will eventually be the traditional economies for this region. And so I think it's important to have that context, that everything just sort of evolves over time. And there's an article that I read a couple of years ago now, and the premise was that the healthy ecosystems of the future are going to combine a highly skilled workforce, higher education, and the fastest broadband connections on Earth. And those two things combined really fit, in my view, UAV and drones. And bioscience as well, and perhaps outdoor, although I see outdoor being more of a traditional manufacturing component perhaps than the other industries, at least the way they've been described today. So that was just at least observations that I had. And I wondered about, does Highway 97 and our existing rail system really provide the transportation and centralities that you would need to actually do manufacturing here? Or maybe you've got something else contemplated.
I wanted to add one thing about technology and how, because I've had the business newspaper for 20 years, and we used to wax up, photos and stick them on the page, and everything has changed. And so one of the things that we've done, and I'm inspired by you, because it continuously makes us, as the traditional business, become more high tech. And I think that we've done that through 5 Talent and others who have helped us, become technology based. I mean, we do e-newsletters, an e-news blast, and our website is state of the art. I mean, truly. And so that's coming from you, because we need to keep up with you. So any traditional business, I mean, you guys have a great website. I mean, we all do things online that we never thought we would ever do. So thank you.
Jamie, I wanted to weigh in also for a second, because I kind of put myself in their family, whereas we are celebrating 20 years as a family business here in Bend, and we were really part of that old economy at Sun Mountain Fun Center. My parents built it. And I look at this all more as kind of the perfect storm. We are in a time in Bend where 15 years ago this would not have looked like this. This conversation wouldn't even be happening. 15 years ago there wouldn't be clusters of anything, and part of that came out of the necessity to be creative and come to Bend because you loved what you saw when you visited to take advantage of the outdoors, and you wanted to figure out a way that you could be in this place and take advantage of that all the time. When I wore my public servant hat and interacted with EDCO and BDAB, where we actually were going out and physically recruiting businesses to Bend, there were many, many businesses who wanted to come to Bend, but couldn't figure out a way to either make that business work in Bend because we didn't have a robust economy, or they couldn't figure out how to get employees that were savvy or sophisticated enough to fill their rosters as employees in a community our size. And if we fast forward 15 years, the UAV cluster wouldn't have existed had not Lancer or some of these companies not had success, but their workers not move away. There were a number of people in that industry and the tech industry and others as well that had a lack of success in one venture or another, refused to leave Bend because they loved this lifestyle, and forced themselves to be creative, creating a new company, creating a new concept, expanding that company, and then reaching out to others within these now formed clusters and saying, hey, I want to do this, I don't know how to do this, can you help me? And boom. So there's a thread between the old, if you want to call it that, business and the new business, and what these clusters have come out of, and that is the community of Bend, I believe.
Yeah, that's great. That's really well said. And little known fact, I lived in Bend from like 93 to 95, met my now wife teaching skiing up at Mount Bachelor. And I had my first real air quote tech job at a company here in town called Orcom Systems. Remember Orcom? That company has a great legacy of sort of almost the initial thread of what this industry is here now. And I think a lot of people tend to forget these sort of rhythms and these patterns of businesses coming and going through this community. And when G5 took that big private equity round on in 2010, I didn't want to see, Orcom went through this great growth, but it did go, unfortunately through some contraction afterwards. And, I didn't want to see that same thing happen to the technology community that was just really starting to kind of get some lift. And I think one of the reasons why I personally got so excited about what Jim was talking about and helping to contribute to this community in a variety of different sort of like volunteer efforts was simply because I didn't want to see it go away.
So you felt a community obligation to step in as well, to be a part of it. And Rane, we haven't heard from you yet either, and we'll come back to Pam. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I would technology in twofold. You know, there is the technology cluster and over 50 tech startups who are in Bend, and also some technology companies that are more established. But then there's this second part of this cluster where we feel that we connect with old economy, new economy, and all the clusters, because if you look at the innovations that are happening in every sector today, they're happening in technology. And what we want to try and do is bridge the divide and help all companies with technology issues and challenges that comes from social media, web design, big data analysis. You know, there are all of these things that every sector and every company needs from technology. And then if we take it even a step further and we think about people who are growing up in Bend and people who love Bend who want to stay here, and when we look at the unemployed, technology is the perfect area to help them reskill and have high quality lives and be in every one of these sectors that we're talking about tonight. When it's the old economy, the new economy, all of our clusters that we have in Bend that makes Bend such a vibrant community compared to all different places in the world. And what we're trying to do is not only support the tech companies, but also help all sectors when they need tech issues and tech support and technical.
Pam's been waiting on cue, and I know we've got, Scott, you and I can hit the audience too, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on kind of old and new and technology. So in 2005, Thomas Friedman wrote a book called The World is Flat. I don't know how many of you read that, but it was about kind of the fact that we all compete in a global economy. And obviously manufacturing was one of the areas in which jobs were going overseas. But there is a movement that's starting to happen now where those manufacturing jobs are starting to come back here, because the world is flat, and it's starting to be that the United States is competitive again in the manufacturing realm in terms of wages and quality and all those sorts of things. So and manufacturing certainly is an important part of the outdoor industry. But another aspect of this an exciting thing about how the clusters can really help each other is that several years ago, COCC was thinking about developing a program in composites engineering, and actually Dave Chun, who is the grand paddle master and maker at Kealoha Paddles, had learned a whole lot by trial and error about composites, and so he was invited to teach in that program, that composites program, and to sort of share his knowledge that he learned about composites engineering, and to help grow new knowledge and workforce in the composites arena. And I'm currently working with a company right now called Kid Runner. It's a startup that makes a super high-tech, innovative baby jogger. And we're working with Composite Approach, another local company that's got expertise from the aerospace industry in composites. So there's a lot of ways in which the expertise in each of our clusters can collaborate and really make things happen.
Yeah, and help build our workforce education. Scott, behind you there is a hands up. Let's come on out to the crowd a little bit here as well. And good, Jim, I was hoping.
Yes, there's been a lot of talk about the way...
Jim, wait just a sec. We got the mic over here, and we'll come back around to you.
I'll defer to Jim.
I just want to make sure a microphone is in folks' hands. So.
He deferred to me because I have a bigger mouth. We've talked a lot about the way clusters are today, but and there's been some friendly, what I would call silo jibing back and forth about who's iconic and who isn't. But there's someone in the room that has a vision for what clusters might be tomorrow. and that person's sitting to my right, and I would ask her if she could stand up and share a little bit about what her visions are about clusters tomorrow.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, I've been working with each of the clusters essentially to sort of build the infrastructure. Hi, sorry, I'm Linda English. Thank you very much. Yeah. I've been working with each of the clusters to really look at the infrastructure that we need. So each one of these organizations needs to be able to have a member database. They need to be able to have regular meetings. They want to be able to survey their members. They want to be able to help recruit new companies to the area. They want to be able to work with the education system to build good education for our area. So when I look at tech and outdoor and bioscience, to me that's just the beginning. We also have lined up a food cluster, right? You know, that should be the next one. We could do an energy cluster pretty easily. So to me, this is just the beginning, and it really started with Tech Alliance and the OOA and bioscience. These guys are really the leaders. Yeah. So for me, it's really exciting to get a chance to work with all of them. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks to point out that you two are here and what's going on out there as well. Scott, I'll give you your mic back. I think exactly, our district attorney has a question.
Everyone, John Hummel. As Jamie said, I'm the district attorney in Deschutes County. In a prior life, I was a Bend city councilor. And what struck me as a city councilor, and I think Scott will agree, that businesses in Bend, they always focused on what was good for Bend would be good for their business. And so we talk about traditional business and new business. I think what we're getting at is a traditional business. Your customers are here in Bend. So what's good for Bend, if there's jobs in Bend, if it's a vibrant economy, the people in Bend are buying your services. And these new businesses, you can be anywhere in the country and your customers are anywhere in the world. So you're not necessarily so dependent on the success of Bend for the success of your business. So to be devil's advocate, do we lose something in Bend when the businesses that are here now are not so invested in the success of Bend, because the success of your business does not necessarily depend on the success of Bend?
I'll jump in on that. Sorry, I can't see you over there.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't see you
recognize you.
Just hold that mic close and we'll get.
So I would just say that it's actually advantageous to the Bend community, because those of us who are here and are part of the clusters or the verticals and in developing businesses, that maybe the majority of the customers might be outside of Bend, but the founders are here and the core of the companies would be here. That's our aim, and I think that's the kind of the efforts that go across all of these clusters, is that we're building these companies to be a sustaining force here, but we're also joining sort of the new economies, which are, a lot of it is serviced by outsourcing elsewhere or by tech or web services, etc. So I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in. You know, I look at it as twofold. There's one fold where there is a large economy who wants to live in Bend and live this Bend lifestyle and want to start businesses that may serve the global community, but will hire people locally and fuel jobs and opportunities and enable people to have a high quality life and stay here. And also help our students to think that I don't need to move to Seattle and Silicon Valley to get an education and a job. I can stay here in Bend, go to COCC, go to OSU Cascade, keep my life here and work for amazing companies who are outreaching all over the world and globally. And then secondly, we also need to understand Bend is a fantastic community and area, and there are a lot of people who are moving here and working from and help grow our economy and let them know this is a great place, we welcome you. There's a lot of spaces like Bend Tech and others that want to welcome remote workers here. And then at the same time, when we look at the companies that are here in Bend, with our small mom and pop businesses, our large medium-sized businesses, and our larger companies, they all need tech. They also need all of these other clusters where we can create jobs and opportunities utilizing our own education. We see in OSU Cascade
Cascade, and then also reskilling when we think about Founders Pad, and we also look at some of the things that we're doing at Tech Alliance in meetups and reskilling, and then also all the clusters who are looking at doing classes and boot camps and things to help our community. And so I don't think it needs to be an us versus them. We are a global economy now that is flat, and what we need to see is we can do amazing things to help Bend as itself, and also help the greater world with great knowledge and skills of our local people, and help them understand how they can connect to all of these clusters, all of these opportunities.